morning. Today we'll talk about the nature of poetic truth, or the poetry and science, their relationship according to Wordsworth as he has prescribed in the preface to Lyrical Ballads. So there's always have been a controversy regarding the comparative superiority of poetry over other branches of learning as history, philosophy, and science as old as Plato and Aristotle. Wordsworth takes up this issue on behalf of poetry and discusses the nature of poetic truth, and he demonstrates its superiority over history, philosophy, and science. So we can say that Wordsworth's concept or conception of poetry is an exalted and noble one. He is in full agreement with Aristotle that poetic truth is much higher than the truth of history or philosophy. In his view, as in that of the Greek philosopher, poetry is more philosophical than philosophy itself, and it is the most philosophical of all the writings. By the word philosophical, he means that is more conducive to understand, a better source of knowledge and wisdom. While history deals with merely particular facts and gives examples to illustrate those facts, on the other hand, philosophy deals with abstract and universal truths without providing any illustrations of those truths, whereas poetry is the only field that deals both with the particular and the general. It aims at universal truths and also illustrates them through particular examples. So, what is the relationship of poetry to nature? It is always truth to nature. Poetry is the image of man and nature. It aims at truth to nature like a faithful reproduction of reality. This faithful representation of reality is modified only by one consideration, that of giving pleasure. This is the only obstacle between the poet and the truth he aims at, which there are 1,000 obstacles in the way of the historian and the philosopher. Wordsworth does not specify what these obstacles are, but they can readily be guessed, or we can guess about them, that what these obstacles must have been. For example, the historian must collect his facts painstakingly from old documents before he can interpret them correctly, whereas a poet has to work upon his imagination to build his piece of art. So, what is the poetic pleasure and its nature? The fact that the function of a poetry is to give immediate pleasure must not be regarded as a degradation of the poet's art. On the contrary, it is an acknowledgement of the beauty of the universe and of the worth and dignity of man. This function can be performed on while one is looking at the world, or the pleasure that man is the basic principle of life and nature. It is through pleasure that man knows, feels, lives, and moves. So we sympathize only because sympathy gives pleasure. Knowledge of reality, of essential truths, can be acquired only through sympathy. It is only when our soul is sympathetic with the soul of nature that we see into the heart of things. Now, what are the sources? So, there are varied sources. Knowledge of truth is a source of spiritual pleasure. The scientists, the mathematicians, and others work hard to acquire knowledge only because knowledge gives pleasure. Therefore, knowledge even of the painful and the disgusting is a source of pleasure. The students are here reminded, or we should be reminded of Aristotle's dictum that imitation even of the ugly and obnoxious, when they are well done, is a source of pleasure. Imitation of the unknown and the unfamiliar gives pleasure because it increases our knowledge So the poet studies the elemental nature of man in his elementary instincts and impulses. He studies man in his ordinary life, he studies his actions and reactions, and through nature, that man acquires various ideas, sensations, convictions, etc. This knowledge he acquires through his sympathy with the objects of nature, and it is always results in an overbalance of pleasure. So then Wordsworth feels that the poetry is superior to science. The poet here perceives the organic unity between man and nature. He is conscious of the sympathy that exists between man and the objects and phenomena of nature. And this awareness gives him pleasure. The soul of man as well as the soul of nature is derived from God, and hence the result is the essential oneness of man with nature. It is for this reason that he considers the mind of man as a mirror to the beauty of nature. The realization of the universal truth gives him pleasure. As the scientist works hard for long periods in the search for truth, in the same way, the poet works to gain truth and pleasure because it is unlimited, and it is only to the individual or the poet that its results, its perception, and the basic principle are the basic principle of life and the fact of unity of nature and man and all other forms of life. So poetry in this respect is, we can see that is far more superior to science. In his views, the knowledge provided by science is superficial and entirely intellectual. The scientist studies only through the intellect. He studies only the appearances of the things. The poet, on the other hand, goes down to the inner reality. He pierces the surface appearances and reaches the soul that lies beneath. And because he is a man with his feelings and emotions, and he is charged with those feelings, that is why Wordsworth defines poetry as the breath, quote, and finer spirit of the knowledge. It is the impassioned expression which is the continence of all science, unquote. So the truth of the poet can be shared by all because it is the realization of basic laws which have always been the same in all ages and countries. So what is the message of poetry? According to Wordsworth, a poet is a general benefactor, a friend and companion. The scientist can also be a benefactor, but he remains aloof, enjoying his knowledge of truth in solitude. It is this message of love and unity that the poet brings, and he seeks to bind all mankind in ties of mutual love and affection. Nature everywhere speaks to him of the essential oneness of all. The perception of this truth excites him emotionally, and he expresses his own emotions and sensations in the poems of nature. Therefore, his appeal is not merely to the intellect but also to the heart of man. So, poetry is the first and last of all knowledge. It is as important as the heart of man. So, we can say that poetry complements science. At that time, science will revolutionize the material conditions of human life, and poetry will play a useful role. Then the poet will endow the achievements of science with feeling and emotion, and thus will present them to his readers in an emotional and vivid form. The poet will always complete and impart perfection to the truths discovered by the scientists. It is he who will impart life and substance, flesh and blood to the dry bones of science. So we can say that poetry can always take over science, but science can never replace poetry. Thank you.